I'm Terry Shepard. Being a confident podcast guest is a skill that can be learned. And that's why I wrote How to Become a Dynamic Podcast Guest and Sell Stuff. It's a sweet and short primer that teaches you about the gear, the appearance, and the messaging that can grab and hold today's micro attention spans and motivate your listeners to take action. How to Become a Dynamic Podcast Guest and Sell Stuff. The digital version is just $1.99 at Amazon. Grab your copy today and sell more books tomorrow.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
Today, we are joined by award-winning mystery author Margaret Mizushima, creator of the internationally published Timber Creek Canine Mysteries. Her work has earned honors from the Colorado Authors League, the Independent Book Publishers Association, and Women Writing the West, along with finalist recognition from Western Writers of America, Killer Nashville, and the Colorado Book Awards. Her latest and greatest Timber Creek adventure, Dying Cry, takes readers deep into Colorado's snowy high country, where newlyweds Maddie and Cole Walker are enjoying a family snowshoe outing when a scream cuts through the canyon. Maddie and her canine partner, Robo, follow the sound only to witness a shadowy figure vanish beneath a deadly rock slide. Margaret Mizushima, welcome. It's great to be with you again.
Thank you. It's always such a pleasure to get to visit with you, Terry. Thank you very much for hosting.
This is your 9 books in right now? Is that correct?
This is number 10. Yes. And the first book came out in 2015. Dying Cry actually came out in October of 2025. So we have been, my publisher and I, my publisher is Crooked Lane Books. We've been on a track of 1 book a year since the inception of the series. So it's pretty exciting to hit that 10-book mark.
How do you keep coming up with such great ideas?
Thank you. I'm very pleased that you think they're great ideas. I do a lot of brainstorming with my husband. He is a retired veterinarian. And of course, there's a veterinarian protagonist in the books. The other protagonist is Deputy Maddie Walker, and she has had a very long period of unpacking her baggage in the series. But in book 9, Maddie and Cole Walker got married right at the end of book 9. So this book actually starts out with them having a family outing with Cole's kids, Maddie's stepdaughters. And so everything is just brand new for Maddie in her life. And yeah, it's been a real wild ride to try to discover what I can do in each book that's different. There's a third protagonist I haven't mentioned yet. His name is Robo, and he is Maddie's canine partner. A lot of what Robo does is highlighted in each book. Robo doesn't just sit in the car. He has to do a lot of work too. So that's probably my biggest challenge, is keeping Robo's work fresh. I have to come up with new things for Robo to do in each book. My husband and I think a lot about drugs that veterinarians use that can be abused by people. And that's kind of where we headed with Dying Cry. We used a drug that veterinarians and horseshoers call tranq. And it has become very much abused by addicts and new drug experimenters alike, lacing marijuana, lacing different types of drugs, or just using it straight. So that's where we headed. And I had never really had a book where the killer's motive was greed. And so I decided to combine that. I usually have to come up with at least 2 ideas to develop a plot with subplots that'll support it and last for a whole novel. But I don't know. Sometimes it feels like a crapshoot, just throwing out ideas and which 2 go together.
We're talking about Dying Cry, the latest from author Margaret Mizushima. Her website is Margaret, Mizushima, margaretmizushima.com. Robo is an amazing character. How do you get inside an animal's head to build their personality?
I have probably been a dog watcher, dog observer since I was 4 years old. I can remember I grew up on a cattle ranch, didn't have many children playmates, but I did have our dogs. And I would be outside playing on the play gym and watching the dogs in the yard. That kind of became a habit of mine, was studying their body language and knowing what they were about. My husband and I've always had anything from 1 to 5 dogs at a time. When you read the James Herriot books, All Creatures Great and Small, and those books, and they talk about the veterinarian with a whole pack in his house. That's kind of the way my husband was. He always needed to have a pack of dogs around. I guess it just felt natural that I would develop a character like Robo. No, I have never been a police officer, and I've never handled a patrol dog or a narcotics detection dog. But my husband had clients who allowed me to come and shadow them while they were training officers, while they were training different dogs. I had a friend that I got introduced to who was a retired canine handler, and she allowed me to come shadow her while she was training dogs for AKC tracking. And then she was training her own dog for finding different evidence along a trail, basically finding anything the norm in the environment. It was fascinating. All of that information kind of came together to create Robo's character. He is a German Shepherd. He's a large male, and he is very well socialized. That was one of the reasons he came to that community. They were having drug traffic go through their little town called Timber Creek, and the Timber Creek community banded together to buy this drug detection patrol dog that cost thousands of dollars. Most of these dogs, $13,000 is the starting. But they wanted this dog to be able to go into the school. And so Maddie needed to find a dog that was well socialized and could be a good community partner for her, as well as doing his police duties. So that was kind of how Robo developed. And I just have been very fortunate to have consultants along the way that will give me more and more details about how these types of dogs can be used.
How do you keep coming up with great ideas?
Yes, I ask a lot of questions to my publishing team also. My agent and I talk about that. We share the backstory or history that we were both raised on cattle ranches in Colorado. And she has ideas for me too. We just continuously are searching for those kinds of things. I keep a tablet beside me whenever I watch Dateline or 48 Hours or any of these true crime documentaries, so that I can jot down just little tidbits of ideas as we go. And that's kind of how I keep searching for things. But Fighting Edge really was inspired probably 10 years ago when I watched an FBI agent do a presentation at a writing conference. And this particular agent was talking about teenage human trafficking. And that inspired me to think about doing that. But so much of the human trafficking stories that have been done have focused on sex trafficking. And I wanted to focus on labor trafficking. And so it was so interesting because I met a retired FBI agent who told me a story about a case that involved the labor trafficking of teenagers and vulnerable teens, both domestic and international. And that was like, okay, that's what Fighting Edge has to be about. I'm ready now. I've collected a lot of data. And so that's how that book came to be. The one I'm writing right now is about vulnerable elderly people. And it really is startling to read what I've written about characters that are about my age and realizing that I'm in that group of vulnerable elderly people. And I try to keep my head down and out of trouble.
We're talking with Margaret Mizushima. Her current is Dying Cry. She has a new one coming out this fall called Fighting Edge, and she's working on the next one right
Number
now.
12.
What is it that your readers like most about your writing?
The people who write to me love Robo. And they also love the fact that the stories are fairly clean as far as the language is concerned, although one of my cops just has to swear. That's just her nature. So it's not totally cozy by any means, but it may be cleaner than some. And they seem to really like the fact that the police department, the officers are competent and they care about each other and they support each other, which is kind of hard to find in fiction. I think some of the conflict is that the officers fight with each other. So I'm not saying that I don't some of that occasionally, but for the most part, these officers really support each other and work together.
We have chosen a very challenging business. It is not easy to create the art that you create, and it's very hard to sell it. Why do you write?
I continue to enjoy my publishing team. I really enjoy working with my agent. I enjoy working with Matt Martz and the team at Crooked Lane Books. And I had worked for 15 years to get published, wrote 5 manuscripts, 4 that will never see the light of day. Killing Trail was number 5, and it finally found a publisher. I know that my publisher still wants the books, and I continue to want to give those books to the public if they are enjoying them and they want them. At the time where we realize that they're not popular, that might be the time for me to retire.
I'm looking back over the many months that we've been friends and back to our first interview at VoucherCon. As you look over that time, you've done a lot of these kind of podcasts, talked to a lot of people about your art. Is there a question that you've never been asked that you wish you had?
I don't know if I've never been asked this question, but I do love to talk about some of the research that I did in order to create a police procedural, since I'm a retired speech therapist and never worked with the police department. And I'd love to encourage people, if they're really fascinated by patrol dogs, to try to find a police dog trial in their community. Typically, these trials are regional, so you might have to travel a bit. It might not be just next door. I happened to go to one in Las Vegas, and it was fascinating to see all of the different dog behaviors and all of the different things that these officers had taught their dogs to do, and the wide variety of control they had over their animal. For example, just getting a dog to release a bite on a bite sleeve. Some of the officers could just say out, and that dog would release and be done. And then some officers would have to actually use a choke chain to choke their dog off of the bite. Fascinating.
And these are all things that you did in the course of your research for the books that you've written?
No, I probably could have put on that bite sleeve and been bitten, but I opted out. But I observed it all, Terry. I observed it all.
Margaret Mizushima is our special guest. Dying Cry is the current one that's out, and it's part of the Timber Creek Canine Mysteries, a fantastic series that is an enjoyable read. There's a lot of really good stuff in it, and it is highly recommended. You can find them wherever great books are sold. Margaret, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it, Terry. You take care.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.